Hi, very good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Great. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Gayatri. Currently, I'm working with the Gaudium School in Hyderabad. I'm an IB DPTOK facilitator there, and I'm an INS facilitator for MYP curriculum. So let's begin with the session. So basically, you all are here for this session, which is based on MYP project-based learning. Um, a little different from basically what we do in MYP as such. So let's just start with the session. I can see 7 participants here, so I will not waste any time further because we have a time duration of only 40 minutes for the session. Not wasting time any further. So what is PBL will be the biggest question here when we talk about project-based learning. So basically, project-based learning is a teaching methodology in which students learn by actively engaging into real-world and personally meaningful projects. Now, you may say that what is the difference between the case studies what we do in our classes and this one? So basically, the main idea behind PBL is to adopt of collaborative and cooperative learning strategies in the classroom as a facilitator, what we do. So in the case where we are looking at more formal definition of project-based learning is when teaching methods in which students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time. Usually our unit plans are, I would say, like 6 to 8 weeks long. However, we can also make a project which can be a semester long as well in project-based learning, and it is totally investigation based, it is inquiry based, where they come up with authentic ideas. There's a lot of engagement that happens in classroom, and complex questions and problems and challenges are resolved within the classroom. So to move further, let's just understand the basic difference between project-based learning experience. I hope I'm audible to everyone, because I cannot see your screen, so you have to give me a thumbs up if I'm audible. Great. So when we talk about project-based learning, you may feel that what's the difference in what we do? So it's like a desert and the difference in main course. When we talk about a desert, it is like doing a project at the end of a unit. By the end of the unit, we just come up with a final product where student has to create a final product, keeping in mind our learning objectives. However, when we talk about project-based learning, it is like a main course, yeah, where students are engaged in multiple activities. Those activities can be based on small tasks that we do in class to reach to the higher end or to reach to the final product, which is our dessert at the end, what we say. However, it is served as part of main course. So as a learner, ourselves, when we talk about project-based learning, okay, you may have experienced short-term activities that your teachers, they call it as project. In charge that where in-hand activities are did, we did it at home after serious learning is over is considered. And let's think about difference between the short-term projects and the project-based learning. We build to understand to start the shortest reading period. Now, so let's just talk about project-based learning. Okay, let's project-based learning is like teachers to make learning to come alive in students' life. However, when we talk about project-based learning, there are different ways of doing it, but there are different outcomes that we are expected to focus on. First thing that we focus on in project-based learning, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. So project-based learning is basically when we talk about our expectation related to project-based learning, it's a project that extends over a period of time. Okay. Now that period of time can be for about a week or a semester. This also helps us to engage them or our students to solve real world problems or answering all the complex questions that we would like to cater in our unit. It also helps in demonstrating their knowledge and skills by creating a public product or a presentation for a real world audience. Now, here the real world audience can be anyone who's ready to take a decision, or maybe suggest, students are ready to suggest certain strategies, because we all know that the learners that we are engaging right now are very much engaged and they know, they're self aware about what is happening across the globe. So it also helps in these kind of skills. Apart from this, students also demonstrate the students also develop deep context knowledge, deep content knowledge, as well as critical thinking skills, collaborative skills, and they also develop creativity and communication skills via project-based learning experience. It also helps in unleashing the creative energy among the students and teachers. So it's not just that only students are engaged in project-based learning experience. However, teachers have to be fully available for them to answer their questions, to cater to their queries. Everything has to be taken care by the teachers. It's like giving them step-by-step instructions or helping them to achieve the main course at the end of the unit, or maybe at the end of the project that they are doing throughout the unit. Now, the point here is that can we just make one project as a unit end, but we can also incorporate two units and sum it up and make one final project as their assessment. So it's not like that only one project can be the end prod, or one unit can be the part of it. However, we can incorporate two units and then assess our students on the basis of the project they are creating collaboratively. Also, we can use interdisciplinary knowledge and understanding to incorporate them, okay, in our unit to make it a project based learning experience as well. I hope it is linking with whatever we are doing in IB classroom as well. There's nothing rocket science behind it. However, it's just a different name, a different little strategy to make students more engaged in classroom activities, to make it more better learning experience for students. So what I have done right now, I have just unmuted all of you guys so that if you have at the question at the end, you can raise your question so that I can also answer them. Now moving on to the question where how does PBL differ from the normal projects that we do in classroom? It's a big question because we usually come up with a summative assessment, which can be a project at the end. However, there's a little variation in what we do at the end of the unit uh, that can be done to make it a project-based learning experience for our students. First thing that we focus on when we talk about a project-based learning experience is by doing a project, that's engaging and rigorous project learning experience for our students. When we talk about a desert project, it's a short intellectual or it is content based. However, PBL is becoming very, very widely used in nowadays in educational setting up. Okay, we use different variety of practices. However, there is a key characteristic differentiation on the same. One of them we can use is teacher cover, and she's the one or he's the one who has the content knowledge of entire unit. Yeah, she is the one who's leading or he's the one who's leading entire unit. So they help, or the facilitators help in finalizing the main course or the entire project at the end, so that the unit can be sum up and can be culminated in form of a final project for our students. In a project-based learning experience, uh, the project is the vehicle for teachers, okay, teaching the important knowledge and skill, so the students can learn those skills and then implement them in their own real life situation or scenarios. The project contains the framework of the curriculum and the instructions. Being an IB facilitator, we all know that we have our own assessment criteria that we have to focus on. So we can just incorporate those assessment criteria with PBL assessment criteria and make an alignment between them to make it a very rigorous learning experience for our students, so that they come up with a very, they use their creative and critical thinking skills. They become more collaborative in nature and they use their higher order thinking skills, and then come up with a final project or the product that they can demonstrate at the end of the unit. And in contrast to the desert, project-based learning also helps in students to have critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, collaboration skills, and various other forms of communication skills. So it also helps in a lot of ATL skill development and IB learner profile development at the end of the unit. Yes. Does anyone have any question till now? Anyone, if you have any question, please raise your hand. I can definitely clarify those. Or I can move further with the remaining session. Or you can just drop your comment on meeting chat box so that I can answer them. Okay, so now you may say that what are the differences that we focus on in a project-based learning experience? So there are the golden standards of high quality project-based learning experience for the students. So to help ensure that students are getting the main course or the end of the day, the project that they have to come up with, project-based learning research information has about golden standards of PBL. Thank you so much, Ms. Nidhi. So basically what happens at the PBL is that it's basically a research-based framework that which is developed by PBL. Okay, it works in intent to ensure that the students master the key of learning, both academic outcomes and the success skills. Now, when we talk about success skill, we focus on the ATL skills that they are developing. Okay, so helps in development of ATL skills and IB learner profile within the classroom engagement. And there are two very important, or say encompass two major elements of project-based learning. One is for the students, and the other one is for the facilitator to run it further. The seven key essential designs of elements are basically framework that are developed to developing high quality projects for our classroom engagement. And there are other seven project-based teaching practices that help facilitators as us, not just facilitators, but us, but school and organization to improve, okay, and to calibrate the assessment of the practices, so that it is easy for us to assess students' work at the end of the unit, or maybe at the end of the project that they are doing. Now you may ask, like, what are the key elements or seven essential project design elements that I'm talking about when I talk about classroom management or maybe teaching management? Yeah. So basically, the 7 key components that we focus on, we create by encompassing is comprehensive research, well-informed research that we focus on when we talk about project-based learning. It also helps in organizing, okay, and improving the assessment practices for our students. Our students acquire key skill of knowledge and understanding and success skill here. So these are the 7 essential project design elements that we use as a facilitator to use within our classroom engagement. Here the students are learning the goal for the project, including standard based content as well as the skills such as critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, communication skills, self management skills to complete the project, and then at the end, collaboration skills. So, when we talk about these major skills here, so we start with sustained inquiry. We focus on authenticity of the project. We talk about student voice and choice here. We also focus on reflection, critique and revision, public product, and at the end challenges or the problems or the questions the students are facing. At the end we cater to it, and the key learning goal here is to have key knowledge about the concept or the content that has been covered in class, and then understanding plus help in success skill as well. Now let's talk about all the 7 elements in detail or in depth when we talk about project based learning experience here. So as already shared that there are 7 essential project design elements here. So when we talk about sustained inquiry here, so sustained inquiry is basically a thought or a project where students uh, research, they ask inquiry, and they carry out investigation to have a better understanding about the questions that they would like to answer. Okay, and it's a driving question that helps in taking the inquiry further experience, or it need to be very focused, like creating a learning outcome in the beginning of the work is what we focus on when we talk about sustained inquiry. Another thing that we focus on when we talk about essential element is the authenticity of the work. At the end, what we want that the student needs to use their own basic knowledge and understanding and come up with an authentic solution for the same. So real world connect, it helps in increasing engagement, okay, and it also helps in motivating students to have a better understanding about their own life experience and come up with authentic ideas so that they can help to come up with creativity, okay, and then use their knowledge and understanding on the same. Apart from this, the students has a very rigorous voice and choice in this concept of project based learning, because without voice and choice, what will happen, it will be a teacher led project. However, we don't want it to be teacher led project, it needs to be students authentic work. So there's a lot of opportunity for students to come up their voice and choice to share their personal experience, what they would like at the end to be their product, focuses on this. And when we talk about this entire scenario, we also focus on the reflection of the students, because each and every step is based on what is their reflection. Okay, so reflection is highly prominent in this particular concept of project based learning, because it helps students to reflect what are the obstacles they are facing, are they coming up with authentic solutions for their issues, what are the challenges they have can overcome, or would they like to have a different collaborative skills, or they would like to work in a different group, so that we can focus on them, and all of this can be incorporated in your project based learning experience. Now, critique and revision is very, very important here, because it gives a lot of opportunity for students to share their own learning experience. They can ask questions from their peers, they can ask questions from their teachers, and then this entire cycle helps in feedback, because feedback is essential for development of any kind of project, and it also defines the improvement of their product at the end. So they create a product, till then they've done their reflection. Now it's time to showcase their work to their peers, take their feedback on the same, okay, incorporate their feedback, and then come up with a public product at the end. So public product is a product where they create to showcase their own or audience they have created for. So now this public product is basically can be a solution, it can be a project, it can be an argument for the same, and it can extend beyond classroom. So we can take beyond classroom, they can showcase their learning by, I would say, a simple essay, or maybe through different kind of different kind of platforms they can use for the same. And at the end, the challenges and the problems that they have faced, they can discuss it to culminate this entire project at the end. Please, you feel free to ask questions about the golden standard practices of essential elements to design a project. If you have a question, please drop your questions on the chat box so that I can answer them. Now let's talk about, so we are talking about teachers, students. However, there's very important role of teacher here as well when we talk about project-based learning. So what is the golden standard for PBL for teaching practices? So it helps in acquiring the key knowledge and understanding and the success skill that we as a facilitator have to take it further. So when we are transitioning from PBL, one of the biggest hurdle for us, for many of us as a teacher, is to indeed to give up some degree of control over the classrooms. Now, trust me that the students need that control. But even though they are more often guided by us, then also we have to set a stage for them so that they can certainly do whatever they want to do, but in a guided manner. So many traditional practices remains, but then we have to reframe them in context of a project. So what is a golden standard for practicing a PBL for teaching strategy? It helps in creating comprehensive research information, as well as it helps teachers, school, and an organization to measure the caliber of the students. It helps in improving their practices. And apart from this, it also acquires key knowledge and understanding of the success skills that they have acquired. So when we talk about all of them, there are again 7 project analysis or project key skills practices that we focus on. One is aligned to the standards. The second one is to build a culture within the community, then manage activities, scaffolding students' learning, assess students' learning, engage and coaching, and design and planning for the same. So may I know if you have any questions related to design teaching strategies for the same? The cycle is among yourself. You may review it. Now let's talk about each and every teaching practices that we're going to use in project-based learning. Okay, and let's just understand why they are very important and what are hidden within them. Okay, each and every practice has its own point. So let's just understand about them in depth. So align to the standards. So as said in the beginning of this entire presentation, that we have to, at the end, what is expected from us as a facilitator is that whether we are able to align our projects with our assessment criteria, okay, with our standards and practices. Yes, it does give us a lot of scope for the same. So we can have our standards to plan in a manner that we can assess them on the basis of our standards and practices that we are following in IB curriculum and in any subject specific area. To build a culture within the community or within school community, teachers use strategies which is explicit and implicit, which prompts independent growth, open-minded inquiry for the for the students, and it also helps in alteration of the quality. So we have to be guided. We have to guide students to make it a better I would say, inquiry for the learners. It also helps, we all as a facilitator have to manage the activities because we are the one who are running the session. Yeah, we are the one who are guiding our students to reach to that level of entire last project. So it helps us to organize the task and schedule and keep certain checkpoints for students so that they meet deadline and come up with their resources. We provide them resources to create the product and make them public to the public so that they develop that those collaborative and social skills at the end, and they have that critical thinking skills as well to share their entire response with the community. Now again, one of the other major aspect that we focus on is to manage the activities. As a teacher, our role is to organize the task and create a schedule for the students so that there are certain checkpoints that we create so that student reach to deadline, students submit the work by deadline, and they can find the resources to create the final product and then submit to the facilitator. Hmm. Now again, see, we are already creating project, we are already creating a learning objective in the beginning of the unit or maybe in the beginning of the project. However, not every student has same level of understanding. So we as a facilitator, our role here in project-based learning is to scaffold uh, the learning objective for our students so they reach to the level of achievement so that everyone reaches at same time. So as a facilitator, our role is to provide them instructions in depth. We can use multiple tool instructional strategies for the same so that student reach to the project goal or at the end product by the end of the unit. Now everything is done, scaffolding is done, managing activities are done. We are also developing culture here. We are also aligning our project with the unit. But now, how is a facilitator, what is the role as a facilitator? Why the students have to do it? Because we as a facilitator have to assess them as well. And they should be aware that the project will be assessed by the end, or maybe it can be done in the midst of this project as well. So we can use some formative strategies, we can use certain summative strategies as well, so that students showcase their knowledge and understanding and to reach to success skill or success criteria, including we can also make them do we can also make them do peer assessment. We can also make them do self-assessment or reflection on the same. As a teacher, we also focus, or we also make them guide for engaging. We are the guide for this session. So we have to be available for the students so that they can answer or that they can focus on the questions that they have, and then we can build a culture in the community so that we can answer their questions or queries by them. Now planning and designing is also one of the very important factor that we focus on. As a teachers, we create and adapt a project for a context, and students can plan and implement by launching the culmination through certain degree of students voice and choice. We can also help them to create a product at the end, like we do in we can do in IDU projects. Okay, we can also create a level of understanding for them. So we can also come up with a community-based project for them. Any kind of project at the end they are coming up with, we can just as a school community come together and give students that understanding that yes, you have your voice and choice and you can share your product with entire school community so that they understand it and share their learning experience within the classroom or go beyond classroom as well. Just like this Zoom platform that we are using to help us understand about project-based learning, same manner, the students can also get the opportunity to come up with certain other ideas so that they can share with their peers as well, or to go beyond school community. So these are the essential elements or design for teachers and for students. Yes. So we have only 8 minutes left. I would just want to open this platform for discussion about project-based learning experience. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask right now. Though I still have a lot of I have a lot of slides left, but still I want to use this time for discussion about project-based learning experience and how we can incorporate it in our classroom experience. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so let's just move further. So what goes into a project-based learning experience? Let's just go through this small video which I'm going to project, and this will help us to understand about a small experience about project-based learning. What I want you to do is to go through this video, listen about the ideas. We can borrow certain ideas from this video as well, and you can share your learning experience at the end by sharing your learning experience by the Padlet link, which I'm going to share in the meeting chat box right now. Just give me 1 minute, please. So this is my Padlet link, which I'm posting in meeting chat box. I would request you to please ask questions if you have any and share it so that I can answer them at the end.
Most of the planning and designing takes place before a project starts, but you can't always predict how it's going to go because students may take it in a direction you didn't expect. When planning a project, the Buck Institute's model for Gold Standard PBL has 7 essential project design elements, and those are good guidelines for teachers to follow.
So teachers often ask, where do good project ideas come from? And the answer is so many places. You might start with a unit that you've taught many times in the past in a very traditional way and revise it, remodel it into project-based learning, paying attention to those design elements that really take learning in a deeper direction.
When I'm designing these projects, I sort of think about what these real-world applications are. Is it authentic? Can I sustain the interest of students for a long period of time? Will kids develop a passion? What kind of questions will it inspire?
But to get your own ideas for projects, look at things like your community, your students' interests, things that are going on in their lives, their culture, their identity. It's also great to get feedback from colleagues on your project design because that improves the quality of the project, and it also models for students the kind of critique culture you want them to have.
Nothing builds engagement like a project that grows right out of a student's own passion or interest or question.
And I always think about the end in mind. Where is it that I want it to go? What do I want the format to look like? And are there milestones along the way where kids can have a lot of flexibility and a lot of choice?
It could be things from the news, from current events, pop culture. It can also be things that are happening in your community, real-world problems you want students to solve, or the kind of problems that adult professionals face in their lives.
Some teachers also wonder, do I have to constantly be designing new projects? You'll find that many project ideas are kind of evergreen. You can reuse them from one year to the next or from one class to the next. Others become actually part of a tradition of a school. These are projects that students kind of anticipate. By the time I'm in X grade, I get to do this awesome project that I've been hearing about for years.
Planning also involves collecting resources for a project. For example, you might need to arrange equipment or materials for students.
And just as important as the stuff, you want to think about the people who are going to be resources for the project. People who might enter your classroom as experts, content experts, or professionals in the disciplines that your students are now working in. If they're working as historians or scientists or photographers or whatever the case may be, those sorts of folks are great to have available to answer students' questions, be role models, really show them what this discipline is like by those who are practicing it every day.
A 401k plan is a retirement plan that employers offer as a benefit.
But not too different from that concept drawing, right? We have the bedrooms up here.
So I learned when I was a teenager about movies.
One other resource you want to think about for your project is who are the people who are going to be the audience for students' work. So we think of project-based learning as having a public product. Public can mean lots of different things. It might mean a big hall full of very interested, engaged audience members, or it might be a small panel of people who are very connected to the problem that your students are wrestling with and have developed some solutions for.
Okay, so I would like to stop this video here. So when we talk about this video, there are certain questions which I have listed, which says, what's the difference about project-based planning? Okay, and what do we need to know more about designing a planning? So I would like to listen from you guys. Please share your experience on the same, on the Padlet link which is provided by me, so that I can answer those questions as well. Plus, you can also share your learning on the same. As we are left with only 2 minutes right now, so I would really like to utilize the time to the fullest, and can answer your questions as well. Thus, you can access to the Padleting which I have provided. Please do share your name as well, so that I can connect with you on the same. That I have an idea that you are the one who has actually written the response. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. The platform is open for discussion. If you have any